Collected Tales of a Dublin Doctor. This podcast is a series of tales written by my father, Patrick Beaufin, and rediscovered in a file at the back of a press 30 years after his passing. Under the Mistletoe in the Richmond.
All I've got to give for Christmas is this, a Christmas kiss. Close your eyes and pucker your lips, 'cause here it is, your Christmas kiss.
Talking recently with a Norwegian friend, we discussed the difference in customs in various countries. In Norway, Christmas Day is very quiet, with very simple food. Roast pork or steamed cod being the main course, while in the north of the country beyond Trondheim, a dish of boiled rice will be the main dish of the day. The great celebrations are held on the day before, with feasting, dancing and general whoopee. Christmas Day itself is used almost as a day of recovery. As he spoke, it crossed my mind how similar it is to the Christmases that we experienced as junior hospital doctors in the 50s. Christmas Day in hospital had a false, contrived air about it. In some hospitals, consultants with their wives and children would visit the wards, expressing admiration for the decorations and wishing the ward sister seasonal greetings. In the Richmond hospital, wives did not appear, but consultants did, and distributed Christmas boxes to the ward sisters. It was all very Victorian and somewhat patronising. The junior hospital doctors worked on a rota. Those whose homes were in Dublin were off duty on Christmas Day, but on duty on Christmas Eve. Alcohol played no real role in our enjoyment, although occasional bottles of stout or beer were consumed in the small kitchens off the wards. We had to be careful because the senior ward sisters were absolute in their disapproval of alcohol. Only my mother's obsessional denunciation of it rivaled theirs. I was one of those who lived in Dublin, so I was on duty on Christmas Eve. The telephone exchange was manned that evening, as always, by the night telephonist, an elderly, unpleasant little man. He sat all night on a bentwood chair in the exchange, a grandiose word for the cramped box under the stairs, lit by a single naked bulb. I never saw him read, not even a newspaper, and transistor radios were not then available. What most people did not know was that all night he drank dark red rum from a medicine glass, the bottle stored on the floor between his feet. At about 9 o'clock, my mother rang up and asked to speak to me. She simply wanted to know what time I'd be off duty the next day and home for Christmas dinner. She hung on the phone for 10 minutes, after which a gruff voice informed her that I was comfortable and as well as could be expected. I never discovered how she interpreted this. It was our practice to hang pieces of mistletoe in strategic places where a particularly attractive nurse could be ambushed, or by nurses to trap a special young doctor. A sprig had been pinned over the door of ward number 1 in the hope of catching a pretty, dark-eyed nurse who was there. She failed to appear, and when I looked up, I saw, magnificent under the mistletoe, the ward sister. She was of the old school, harsh of voice, corseted torso, rigid carriage, and unsmiling lined face, her mouth turned down at the sides. What was I to do? I was in my 20s, she in her 60s, and arguably the plainest woman I've ever seen. Do I swallow the anchor, excuse myself and go about my duties elsewhere, or behave as a gentleman should in that festive dilemma? I pointed at the mistletoe, and as she glanced upwards, I kissed her briefly. She turned her head slowly towards me. Not a line altered on her face, but I swear that I saw a faint twinkle in those steely eyes. Was it because of my pseudo-gallantry, or was it because she knew that I had smelt the gin on her breath?
Your Christmas